I mean, I'm not surprised 90% of Trump supporters think that he's honest. Ironically, though, a lot of Hillary supporters don't think that she's honest, like not even close. And today in an NBC Wall Street Journal poll, Hillary's leading by 8 or 9 points over Trump in a national election. Despite that, more people believe Trump is honest than Hillary. Josh, how big a problem is this going to be if, he can overcome all this negativity and get to the general election?
As more of these, what's crazy about this election, one of the many hundreds of things that is insane about this election is that normally as things go on, polling and things like that starts to sort of codify into how people are feeling for the general election. Now, to be fair, it is still early in the fact that, in terms of that there are plenty of elections left, but, normally at this point in the process, your primaries are wrapped up and it's into relaxation mode before the conventions. So since that's not the case, and since these polls are getting crazy, and, Hillary and Donald Trump are both favored to win, but also the most unfavorable candidates you could ever find. Trump beats Hillary, and and that switches depending on the poll. I think the real
Trump has only led her in like 2 or 3 polls. She leads him in like 90% of the others.
Doesn't matter what the facts are, Igor. Weren't you listening? But I think what that means is it doesn't matter. The polling. I mean, if Michigan wasn't the wake-up call, polling can still exist to give us maybe an idea, but we cannot rely on it sort of like we did. And I think that, if you have Hillary and Trump as actual nominees and then you redo that poll, things are going to be completely different. Because right now, it's just, they're 2 very unique candidates. You have one of the most well-known and most polarizing political figures on one side. I mean, I think the only person more polarizing is maybe the current president. And honestly, that's just because Hillary hasn't been president yet. So you have that on one side. And then the other side, you have a complete buffoon who is also just as, if not more famous than the other person, that pretty much is famous for being a complete asshole and is beloved by the electorate. So I think that this is an election that is sort of, there's just no way. You can only sit back and watch. Sit back and watch, figure out what happened, and that's what we'll be saying in the work camps in the latter 6 months of or in Donald Trump's first 100 days.
My point is that Trump supporters adamantly believe that this is the Messiah. He means what he says. He's the most honest person. Meanwhile, the people that even do say they will vote for Hillary also don't find her very honest and trustworthy. Peter, how big a problem is this going to be?
Well, it's huge. Imagine this campaign devolving into basically defensive voting. I mean, there's Hillary supporters who won't budge.
Imagine.
Imagine, basically the line is each candidate says, you better vote for me or Selma and Patty are going to be president, or you better vote for me or Homer is going to end up as president. So when you get into that defensive fight where the goal is to paint the other candidate as the greater of 2 evils, now who do you think is going to be better at that? Trump beating up on Hillary, or Hillary trying to get a few shots in on Trump? It's pretty darn clear. You've also got what some people are starting to call the FBI primary that still is out there. Keep in mind that somewhat amazingly, the mainstream media and Bernie Sanders have completely ignored the multiple legal issues that are swirling in the background of the Clinton campaign. Nobody knows what's going to happen with any of those, but keep in mind that there is only one candidate in this election who has open investigations right now by the FBI. I think we can assume Trump is not going to stay away from that issue in the general campaign. And if Hillary's trustworthy scores are already trending as poorly as they are now, imagine what's going to happen when you've got Trump 24/7 talking about emails and things like that. And he's not going to allow Hillary to play the word games. I didn't send any marked classified. I didn't know this. It was legal when I did it and all that. Trump is just going to be going, balls to the wall about how you can't trust this woman. And that, given the way his campaign has been run and the way his message has resonated, man, nobody's going to do it better than him.